Hi, I'm Kevin,
And I'm Amanda.
and we are serving up
All that jam.
All That Jam, Quick Hit. Apollo Suns Ed D on America.
I
But
love that. Um, there's so much I want to respond to that, but I'm going to
yeah,
ask,
good.
and this is not political. This is just simply me being curious because I
Yeah,
saw
for
you
sure.
all. I want to say, if I remember correctly, I saw you on was it your first time in Colorado?
Yeah, that was our first. Yeah, yeah, at your mom's house.
That's right. Yeah, that's a fun, interesting place.
Yeah.
I do go there. But it got me thinking, like some of what you were just talking about, that I'm assuming this is the case, but I hope that, overall American audiences and concert goers have been just as positive and accepting,
Mm,
and I'm assuming yes, because if it is in the jam band scene, then or connected to it, then that's one thing. But
yeah.
how you found all that? Because I know you're coming back, which is so awesome,
Oh
and
yeah.
we'll talk
You,
about that for in a minute. But like,
you
how's
know
your
the thing. So, how was our experience in the U.S.?
yeah?
It's funny. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. It's funny that every U.S. interviewer asks us this, like, "What's your experience of Canada to the U.S.?" I don't find there's any differences in the audience, the people attending. Most people who go to shows are not there to start fights and or like arguments. So the people we interact with, because we are very transient, going from town to town and meeting the people that are most likely going to be very welcoming and kind and supportive because they're there to see music. I will say the one thing that feels different in the US is that there's almost feels like there's a tension in the air. Like it's almost like the random people we'll bump into as we're like traveling through sometimes have seemed very not aggressive but or argumentative but like on edge at times, like I've been filling up the van and been harassed or one time a gas station attendant was like, "You all look like you're from New York. A bunch of fags come from New York and shit." And we're like, "What? Like this super weird." Like this was in Montana. But our experience with most Montanians, I don't know what they're called, but anyway, have been very lovely because we're hanging out with artsy musicians types and college kids and going to music or hanging out at nice coffee shops or so it's interesting that they're the people we're interacting with are generally like people we would normally just interact with, but there is like and I mean, being from Canada, we don't have to worry about anyone holding a gun. I can walk down the street and be like 99.999% of these people would not have a gun on them. In the US, we're like, these people could all have guns on them. Like, so it's a different thing. And I don't feel unsafe in America, but there are times where I'm like, we worry about like if Ron DeSantis becomes president or if Trump becomes president again, we actively worry if we will be able to tour again because half the band is queer or and trans gendered and non-binary, and and we don't want to have to hide that for just existing. So we're like, maybe we won't go to Alabama, maybe we won't go to Florida, maybe we'll stick to these northern like states and hit no rural areas because we've had shit yelled at us and we've had but I will say that I've had really lovely times in the US and there's tons of amazing people that we've met all over the US. So I think it would be hard with there's 330 million people. Like, of course, with that many people in such a small landmass, of course there's gonna, and the political, yeah. I, I don't think that any random person is inherently bad, or but you get a group of people and you feed them a bunch of misinformation and propaganda, and you set that match off and you put their kids into the mix, like, ooh, the boogeyman's going to get your kids. Like, of course there's going to be crap, like, and sorry, I don't know if this is getting too political,
No, no,
but
no. I mean, I
um
I asked the question because,
yeah.
like I said, I know our scene,
Mhm.
regardless of where, but in terms of just overall perception, and like you were talking about, just being here. I mean,
Yeah.
when you live here and you've lived here your whole life, but it's also, you can't ever see that from different eyes, that
Right.
are kind of coming in from
Yeah.
another place like that, and spending time the way that you do, because having, is a long time ago, but being on tour and being in the van and in a different place pretty much every single day is a very
Mhm.
unique way to see the country too.
Yeah, yeah, and it's interesting that, like, you won't have this in Canada. There's like three or four different types of Canadians, whereas in the US, every state is different. Like every vibe is kind of different. Yeah, I just want to, like, as far as like the politics go of it, and like as I become older, I become way more aware of politics and like the effects of imperialism and capitalism, and how a lot of our problems would be solved if we just navigated away from capitalism, because it is meant to divide. So I would just end my political rant by saying that I think that the divide that we feel and that we see in North America is created for the people who gain power and keep power, is a way for them to divide us, when I have more in common with a conservative poor person than I do with an elite billionaire that is going to pay government officials and senators and politicians in order to further their cause. We have more in common unilaterally with other classes, and the working class and the poor class, and any immigrant fleeing a war-torn country that was pretty much created by instability of. Regardless, I think that we should be working towards unilaterally coming together and having kindness for people like that, because the people that are dividing us do not care whatsoever about us. We are just human meat to them in order for them to gain more power and money. So that is my political. Let's start
Yeah.
coming together unilaterally, because let me tell you, the billionaires are going to eat us too. It doesn't matter if you're white or Christian or black or this or that or whatever, queer or trans. If you are not a billionaire or part of the capitalist elite, they're gonna come for everyone. It's just the queers and the gays and the drag queens right now. Anyways, so and I'm sorry if I feel a little bit heated, but things are happening in Canada that are seeping up from the US. So with half the band being in that community, I'm very burnt out emotionally from having to defend my existence. Um, you know, and
If you are enjoying All That Jam, please like and subscribe to our social media channels at All That Jam Pod on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, or visit our website, allthatjampod.com. Make sure to sign up for our email list and tune in every week for new episodes.
Also, look for full interviews on our YouTube channel. And remember, stay beautiful, but don't stay underground too long.